Well, it's hard to argue with that kind of ovation. Hi, folks. I'm attorney Josh Berkley, and I'm here to talk to you a little bit today about estate planning. This is going to be a really casual conversation, and I want to kind of talk to you just the way I would if a client was sitting in my office and we were kind of discussing what estate planning is and why you might need it. Okay. Uh, First off, we'll satisfy all the insurance folks and say that I don't know you, I don't know your assets, and most importantly, I don't know your relatives, okay, or what they might do with your estate plan when something should happen to you. All right. So having said that, this everything I say here today is purely informational, not intended to create an attorney-client relationship. And beyond that, just know I'm just trying to kind of give you some of the basics in estate planning. So, as we start to talk a little bit about estate planning, one of the most important things to discuss is what it is not. Okay, estate planning is not just the documents that you get from your attorney or online or anywhere else, wills, powers of attorney, all those sorts of things. That is not all there is to estate planning. Okay, those are the documents that often help to execute on your plan. But the actual estate planning portion of it is where you sit down and you talk about not just what documents you're going to have, but what you want those documents to say and what is important outside of the documents. Let me give you a couple of examples. So you can write anything you want to in a last will and testament, what people usually just refer to as a will, okay? And what you're going to find is, or what a lot of people think when they come to see me is, well, my will says who gets everything when I die. Yes, that is mostly true. But what they've got to take into consideration is what does not pass through the will. Okay? When you write that will, you are creating a plan for how your assets go when you die. That's part of what you put in your will. Okay? You've got to take into account what assets you have that aren't going to pass through probate and will not be controlled by the will, such as your life insurance. Life insurance has a beneficiary designation. That's a contract you have with the insurance company, and none of that money is ever going to go into the estate unless no beneficiary is set. This can also be true on investment accounts. You've also got to think about jointly owned real property. How is that going to pass? Is it titled the way you want it? Okay, sometimes spouses, want to hold that in survivorship. That's a great way to hold real property for most people. Excuse me. But if it's not held that way, that may be something you want to do as part of your estate planning, is sitting down and evaluating all of these assets, how they're currently titled, how they're going to pass at your death. Is that what you want? And if not, is a will going to fix it? Or do we need to take some other action to take care of those things? Now, the other thing to know is in estate planning, we're not just talking about what happens to your property if you die. Okay? That's a major part of it. People think about that all the time, but it's not all there is. You're also doing things like, for younger people, appointing guardians for their children if something should happen to them. Okay? You may also have a special needs child and you want to have things held in a trust so that any government benefits they might be eligible for won't get messed up by a large inheritance. A lot of older people are coming to talk to us about Medicaid planning. And the significance of that is when you've saved and saved and saved all your life, and it comes to the time that you're going to need nursing home care, even a sizable nest egg can be quickly eaten up by a $7,000 to $10,000 a month nursing home bill. So that's also something that we do is when people are thinking well in advance of Medicaid, or unfortunately when they're right about to have to go into the nursing home, we try to help folks and their families make a plan to preserve as many of those assets as we can. Depending on how early you do it, the more you can save. But beyond that, in estate planning, we also talk a lot of times about powers of attorney and healthcare surrogate designations. Now, the important thing about those, and also in doing the Medicaid planning, is we're not just planning on what happens to your assets when you die. We're planning for your lifetime so that during your life, someone can help you make decisions if you need it. Someone can just take some of the burden off of you, like through a power of attorney. A lot of times parents will appoint their kids to be able to go to the bank for them. It just lifts the burden for them a little bit. In the same way with a healthcare surrogate designation, that's going to appoint somebody that if you're incapacitated, you would be able then to have this person come in and tell the medical professionals what it is you would want to happen at that time. These are just some of the basics, okay? And people ask us all the time, is an estate plan really essential? Do I really need one? I think yes. Obviously, we are estate planning attorneys, but beyond that fact, so often what Kentucky law provides to folks is not what they want. Okay, and there's a lot of misconceptions, and I'll cover some of that again when I talk about wills a little more in depth. But for just quick examples are many people think, well, if I die, my spouse just gets everything. That is not necessarily true in Kentucky. Okay, your spouse only gets everything if you have no children and several other layers of relatives have already passed away. The spouse gets roughly the first half, and then it starts going to children and so on and so forth down the family tree. That is often not what people intend and not what they think happens if they don't have a will. So we'll talk about some of the things you'll want in a will and some of the pitfalls there when we do a video on wills specifically. But just wanted to open this one up, talk a little bit about estate planning, some of the things it is not, as well as some of the things that it is. We're hoping to do these videos a lot more regularly than we have in the past. Everybody knows, when it comes to some of these things, wow, intentions are often great, but we hope to do better about getting before you guys, getting out here on social media, and talking to you guys just a little bit about the things you need to be concerned about when it comes to planning for your life, your estate, and what that all entails. Thanks for listening. I hope you'll take a second and hit the share button or subscribe, depending on which platform you're seeing me on right now. And really appreciate you taking a moment to listen to this video. Thanks.